Hey guys, it's Bridget with San Diego Seed Company, and we are in our greenhouse, and today I'm going to talk about super early seed starting, the pitfalls, the things you got to look for, some issues, and some reasons why you might want to start your seeds this early. But before I get into it, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you're notified anytime we put out a video. So let's jump into it. Let's look at what I'm doing. Laugh with me a little bit here because, you know, we're human, we make mistakes. So let me just give you a little background information on why I'm doing what I'm doing. We have this tiny little greenhouse. It's 10 by 16, okay? Not a lot of space. And we recently acquired a 5-acre farm that we are doing seed production on. So I have to figure out how to get enough starts out of this very small greenhouse and into the farm this spring, on top of having enough starts for our urban farm. So it's quite the conundrum, and what I have decided to do is start a lot of our plants even earlier than I normally would for two reasons. One, so I can stagger them and get them out of the greenhouse and get new ones started. And also because with the holidays, I've got a little extra time, I've got a little extra help, I'm gonna take advantage of it. So I wanna tell you a little bit about why it's a good idea to start this early, the things that you're going to need, and I also want you to know some of the issues that you can have so that you know what you're getting into. Now keep in mind, we're in zone 9 or 10, so Southern California, and it's important to remember that I'm starting them super early for us. Like I'm starting my tomatoes now, I usually start them in February. You wanna look at, for your particular area, when you would start them. And like for tomatoes, for example, you can start those 7 to 8 weeks before your last frost indoors. So if you want to start them maybe 9 to 10 weeks before, you would have a super early start for those tomatoes. Keep in mind, it depends on your area, and you're going to want to look up that information so that you know for sure. So we're in the end of December right now. And so like I said, typically we'd start our tomatoes in February. I'm about a month. Actually, these were started middle of December, so I'm a little more than a month ahead of my schedule. So let's talk a little bit about what it looks like to start seedlings early and some of the issues that you can have. So you can see here, I've got a tray of Portuguese kale, and I want to get these up and going as soon as possible because I can get them out into our Ramona farm very early and get them growing vigorously. Now there's a couple of drawbacks of starting this early. We are in the time of the year where the sun is the lowest in the horizon and the days are the shortest. So as you can see, my seedlings are pretty spindly. They're falling over. Some of them look better than others. This happens naturally because there's very few hours of sunlight comparatively to the spring or the summer, and we have long shadows because the sun is very low in the horizon. Now, for me, this is not that big of a deal. I'm willing to have these seedlings be not as strong and robust as they would be because I'm going to get an early start on growing them. So I am 100% positive that every new gardener out there has done something like this, and I want to talk a little bit about how you can try to fix it. So if your seedlings are leggy or spindly, falling over like this, you can ask yourself, are they getting enough sunlight? If it is, the winter or early spring and you're starting them indoors or in an area that doesn't get a lot of sunlight, the answer probably is they need more light. There's a couple different ways you can do that. We have here a simple grow light. It was gifted to me. I don't actually like using grow lights if I don't have to, but I had it on hand, so I'm using it for my starts. And because I only have one and I'm making use of what I have, I'm actually rotating the plants underneath them. Now, I'm no expert on grow lights. There's a lot of people out there that are, and I would recommend getting information from them about the specs and all of that stuff. There are a few best practice tips that I want to give you that are great no matter what kind of seed starting light you're working under. So I'm going to lift this up here. We're going to take a look. Now these guys are already looking better, and now I have this seed starting light literally just barely above them. That is so incredibly important. If I were to take this light and hang it 6 to 12 inches above my plant, I'm only training the plant to become more leggy. They're reaching for the sunlight and they're trying to get there, and they're becoming leggier and leggier. That is one of the #1 things that I see new gardeners do when they start growing with grow lights. They don't put the grow light close enough to the plant. Now, I haven't been out here in a day or two, and I can tell you right now, when we're looking at them, you can see these little tips here are burnt. That's because I need to raise the grow light. So when you're growing under grow lights, you have to monitor it daily and raise it or lower it depending on the plant height. So you can see here, these guys are burnt. So I need to raise this up so that they're not actually touching the light, but they're only a ½ an inch below the light. That's gonna guarantee they're going to be a lot bulkier and strong. The other thing that you can do is put a fan on your starts. This is really helpful because what you're doing is you're moving the stem of the plant back and forth, and that's actually building strength and muscle. Just like we work out, these plants are working out. It's making them a lot stronger so that they can actually stand up underneath their long weight of their stem. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these and I'm actually gonna transplant them in little 4-inch pots like this. That's gonna allow them to have more area to grow their roots. I also can bury them a little bit deeper so they're less spindly and falling over. And then I'm gonna put them underneath the grow light so they can continue to grow. In reality, I could wait 4 weeks when there's more sun, the days are longer, and I would have less work to do in the greenhouse. But I'm trying to take advantage of winter vacation and trying to make the most out of the time that I have and the space that I have so I can get these up to a good size out of the greenhouse and make more room for my peppers, tomatoes, and all the other plants that I have to start. A couple other things to think about with airflow. Airflow is essential if you're starting your seeds, especially indoors in a stagnant room. Maybe you're doing it in a closet or a garage or somewhere where there's no airflow. You have to have a fan that is moving air. It does several things. It's gonna make sure that your plants are stronger and that their stems have more strength to them. It's also going to help prevent fungal issues because it's going to be moving air. You're not gonna have soil gnats and things living on the surface of the soil, but it will also dry your starts out quicker, which is important to remember, so you're gonna have to pay attention and potentially water more often. You'll know, for those of you who have watched our YouTube channels and any of our seed starting videos, you know I am a big fan of bottom watering. So we have these trays here, and I will put water in the tray and allow the water to be sucked up through the bottom, which helps mitigate dampening off and other fungal diseases. Now, if you look here and you see this green color to the soil, that's gonna tell me that this has been wet too long. And it is also a cue for me to keep a watch out for dampening off or any fungal diseases that can kill these baby plants that are ever so tender. What I'm gonna do to prevent that is I'm gonna pull back on my watering a little bit, make sure that this isn't saturated all the time. And I'm also going to do a tried and true trick that I've learned to keep the dampening off from actually growing up the plants. I can use vermiculite, which, if you know from our other videos, we've used this for several different things, seed starting, all kinds of different things. You can also use perlite, that's another option. But you basically can lay this on top of the soil. And what it's gonna do is it's just gonna prevent the dampening off from spreading as quickly and spreading up the stem of the plant, which is what you wanna prevent to keep the plant from dying. So that's really important to remember. You'll see that I have some trays that are a little bit drier, some that are a little bit wetter. So I really need to get my ass in line here and water correctly. But all in all, they're looking good, they're looking healthy for this time of year. And I'm just gonna continue to baby them until the days get longer and they can really take off. Now, I'm doing this, again, let's review the reasons why I'm doing this, because I have a very big property, very small greenhouse, limited amount of space, and I need to get as many plants out of the greenhouse and onto that property as early as possible. Now, if you have a small garden and you have plenty of space to start your seeds, you might want to start them early so that you can hedge your bets and take into account failure, because it's going to happen. If you are a perfectionist, gardening may not be the right hobby for you, because it is one of the most humbling pastimes that you can take, because over and over you're going to learn, well, I did that wrong, and that's okay. So if you want to start them this early, you definitely can. Just keep in mind you're going to have to do a little bit of extra work. Maybe you're on holiday break, maybe you have a little extra time, so maybe it's a perfect time to do it. I do want to give you some warnings on why you may not want to start this early. If you're in zones outside of 9 and 10, you're still going to have very cold temperatures, and it's going to take quite a while before it warms up enough to be able to get these plants from your protected space, whether it's inside or your greenhouse, outdoors. Are you going to have enough space to do that? Meaning, when these plants get big enough, when these need to be transplanted into a bigger pot, are you going to have a big enough pot, enough soil, enough space? If you're doing it indoors, is your husband or wife going to be mad at you because you're taking up the whole garage with all your plants? It's something to consider. Also, this time of year, all the plants are going to grow very slowly. They're going to grow slowly because of the limited amount of sunlight and because the temperatures are naturally a lot cooler. So soil microbes, they're not working as much. Just the biology of the plant slows down because it's so cold. So you have to make that decision. I will say that I am a big proponent of succession planting, and part of what I'm doing here is succession planting. So I am sowing my seeds out constantly every couple weeks, so that every couple weeks I've got plants ready to go out into the ground in the farm, ready to be planted. So for me, that's my goals, and that is my reasons behind starting these plants so early. Now, if you're the type of person that really likes structure and you want every year to be the same in your garden, although I love and welcome that personality, that's definitely not me. I will say that being creative and planting something different each year is part of the key to success in gardening and finding what does really well in your area. If you are in zone 9 and 10 and you don't have our gardening calendar, I highly recommend that you get it. We have 3 or 4 pages on the back side where you can actually put notes of what you planted, what worked, what didn't work, what you would do differently. Keep a journal so that you know what was successful and what was not successful. That's part of what is beautiful about being a gardener. It's like an artist. You don't know exactly what you're going to paint when you paint it, but sometimes you create beautiful masterpieces.